Welcome back to the InGoal Radio Podcast. If you're hearing my voice, that means that our fearless leader, Darren Millard, is en route, in transit, making his way back to Las Vegas from his summer place, which means me and Hutch. I'm driving the bus. Hutch is riding in the passenger seat. We are going to
put my seatbelt on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, this is a bus that requires seatbelts because I am behind the wheel. Means people get to hear more from me, which is a little bit of a scary thing. Hutch, how are you, buddy?
I am so good, thank you, Woody. It was a pleasure to hang out with you over in Vancouver yesterday.
Well, what were we doing over in Vancouver yesterday? We were at the Hockey Shop, Source for Sports, who is, of course, the proud sponsor of this podcast. We were filming new gear segments, including one that we're going to run out today. It's hot off the presses, as they used to say when we had presses in newspapers. And it is the CCM Tacks skate. We know, we heard you. We heard the demand for the Bauer F50 second price point Supreme fused stick, and that is coming next week. But we had to get the Tacks out because we have had a ton of good feedback on this skate. So it was great to catch up with Cam. We've got that coming up later in the show. We've also got our featured guest this week, a bit of a different one, Robbie Beydoun, who played NCAA hockey at Michigan Tech, got his degree in 3 years, which allowed him to transfer to Wisconsin for his 4th year of eligibility, playing alongside Cole Caufield and Dylan Holloway. Heard of them. Not bad. And then turned pro, won his only start in the American Hockey League, went 7-3 with a 920 plus save percentage in the ECHL, and then walked away, but not entirely. So Robbie is now working for Vizual Edge. He's also occasionally a practice goalie with the Minnesota Wild, and he has a phenomenal story. Like, he's not a pro rep, so to speak, but he's almost like one because he talks to goalies all over the place, including the guys he works with at Vizual Edge, guys like Binnington and Swayman and Joseph Woll. So he coaches the game still. Just fantastic stories from a path that is, to be honest, all about perseverance and somewhat inspiring. To as a late bloomer to make the NCAA and then to get your degree in 3 years, because there's no transfer portal back then. Like, the only way you could transfer from Michigan Tech without taking a year off and go to Wisconsin and play with those big names is because he already had his degree and he went and did his grad studies at Wisconsin. So fun conversation. Maybe not a name that a lot of people are going to know, but one of those ones that by the end you will, and you will come away having learned lessons from his path and the sort of stories and samples and examples that he shares from it. So great stuff coming up in our feature interview presented by NHL Sense Arena. But first, we should get over to the Hockey Shop, Source for Sports, where they have got new inventory still coming in. There's Warrior, Alpha, Surge, and S50 second price point line. We're going to have the second price point coming up in a couple of weeks on the gear segment. That's in store. We're talking about the Bauer Supreme Fuse F50, the second price. That's in store, the stick. And these new CCM Tacks skates. Last time we were there, they didn't have them in. They do now. And of course, anytime that you've got new stuff coming in, it means Cam and his crew needs to clear room off the shelves to get rid of some of the older inventory. And that is the Back to Hockey sale right now in August on at the Hockey Shop, Source for Sports in Langley, thehockeyshop.com, where you can save up to 50% on some lines. Warrior, CCM, Bauer, there's tons of great sales. Make sure you go check out the website to get the latest deals. And if you're up for something new, the latest gear, including this week's featured product, the CCM Tacks Pro skates. New skates from CCM.
And it's not tacky.
Oh, that was good, Cam. Not really, but it's the XR Pro. And there are a lot of features in terms of fit and feel, customizable arch in through the...
It's a pretty slick looking skate. Let's start off with just even that.
It's attractive.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest feature on this that is new for CCM, at least when we talked to Anne-Renee Desbiens, who wasn't really able to get into their more neutral skates, we've got a bit of a forward pitch.
Do you
more similar?
That heel lift block in the back.
Yeah. So in other words, this one's going to put you a little more on your toes than past CCM models, which were some of the more neutral skates in terms of pitch angle. So a lot more forward pitch. The feedback we've gotten very similar to Bauer. That's sort of what they're after because that's a very obviously popular pitch angle. That's a big difference. But it's not the only difference because there are a ton of new features in this one. Cam, I'm going to let you walk us through.
Toe cap.
That's different too.
Redesigned, trimmed down, more in line with some of the other offerings.
Speaking of angles, it will help you get a good attack angle.
Correct, because I'm not having as much chunk and bulk up in that front area. It's also reducing volume area at your toes, so I want that nice snug fit. Getting rid of void space inside of your skate is going to help with that energy transfer and overall performance of the skate. Then we don't have that slip. Then we don't have that rubbing. We don't have problems with bunions and things like that because of the toes moving inside of the skate. Less volume, tighter fit, better performing skate.
Okay. What else?
What else? Let's look at that tongue. Okay. Memory foam tongue. Yeah, let's pull it together here. I'll prevent against lace bite. You're getting that nice forward flexion out of the tongue. Super soft. Install haul in your skates a little bit, but not have that actual restriction, which helps cause that lace bite. Again, we need that net soft memory foam there to be able to create that better fit for that overall feel-wise.
We hear a lot about just how soft it is around the ankles too. Soft. Like the way it sort of locks your ankle in, which is in part due to the insole.
And the memory foam that's actually lining.
Right.
The skate itself.
Really soft, great fit, great
feel. Activated.
We've heard a lot of feedback on
So we do that mold to your skate to help get that overall wrap, which brings us to the actual eyelet package of the skate, which has been extended out. Typical old CCM fashion was very, very straight. Now we've got that more curved in and extended to help create that wrap to your skate when we actually go mold that skate. So
your heel back into the back.
Improving that overall fit, keeping your foot anchored. Once again, improving that energy transmission. Hey, we're talking about a good skate here.
It's got a lot of positive early feedback on this one. Now, are we going to get to the insole or are we going to stick with the outside?
Well, let's finish off.
Okay.
Step steel. Black edge step steel. You're going to find stock on the skate itself.
With a profile built in.
Yeah, it already has a 10-foot, 27-foot radius. So you are going to get, again, continuing that little bit more of that forward tip.
So the forward tip, the forward pitch is the skate itself, but also accentuated.
What we consider onto the balls of your feet.
Can we get to the exciting, like to pull out the...
So at first glance, we see a standard rivet cover. At closer inspection, we actually have a CCM support insole. A customizable CCM support insole. So if you have a high arch, you need a little bit more support out of the insole. That's a peel and stick piece that now attaches to that bottom of that insole and giving your foot the natural support that it needs.
Nice.
Customizable out of the box.
Love it. Tons of great features. But most of all, this is a skate that if you're in another brand and you liked that forward pitch and you couldn't consider CCM in the past, now you can. And Renee Desbiens told us, because she was one of those goalies, the first time she tried this, she wasn't able to get into CCM before. First time she tried this, not only did she love it, she kept it. She wouldn't give it back. She's been using it ever since. So I think that's a combination of the comfort, but also the fact that that angle, that forward pitch is similar to what a lot of goalies are used. So CCM no longer sort of different and neutral and back on your heels.
This is a viable option that is now on the skate wall that you should be considering when you go look at your next pair of skates. That was a long-winded way of getting there.
What he said. He said. So Cam, if they got any more questions about this, about sizing, where do they get you?
604-589-8299 or 1-800-567-7790 or check us out at thehockeyshop.com.
There you go. We've got lower price points as well. You don't get all the same features. You can check those out at thehockeyshop.com. We'll come back with some more reviews on those in the future. Thank you, Mr. Matwiv, for walking us through a skate that we've heard great things from, including from Renee Desbiens. Big fan of the skate as well. Put it on, as I said in the segment there, put it on, wouldn't give it back. Probably a pretty good sign.
We had a similar experience here, Woody. CCM sent a preview set to us quite some time ago that you might not have even had your hands on it, but Matthew had his feet in them out in Moose Jaw, I think, last year. It was as they were prepping this new release. And he loved them so very much that he asked if he could keep using them, and the answer was no, because they couldn't be seen by the world yet.
It is, as we said, it is a departure for CCM to have this level of forward pitch on their skates. It puts them sort of in tune with other brands, and I think that forward pitch is something that goalies so many goalies expect and want now that it's a necessity. And so they've added a lot of great upgrades. But that is a big part of this. Yes, sir.
I have a question on that. And maybe I'm just getting technical on all of this, but I'd swear somebody once explained it to me that technically all these skates are not forward pitched. It's just that the CCMs were a little bit backward pitched before, and then when you got into the others, you felt like you were throwing forward. Or have I got it reversed?
I think CCM's older skates, the previous models, I always thought of them as neutral.
Maybe they were neutral then.
Neutral, and then the other ones are... So, I mean, at the end of it, it's all relative, right? It's all relative. And I remember, like, so for gear reviews, I'd throw on the Bauer skates after wearing the CCM ones, and it, like, for the first 5 minutes, I was toe picking everywhere because I just felt like I was over top of it. So for me, it'll be an adjustment. But for most goalies, this is what they're looking for. And so it makes sense that CCM offers it. Okay, I'm coming off a big week. Mm-hmm. We have a big week coming up. That's why we had to head over to the hockey shop and get all this recording done in advance, because we're headed to Boston to the USA Hockey second National Goaltending Symposium. They're running them every 2 years. First one was in Minnesota 2 years ago, obviously. And now the second one is coming up this August in Boston. So, folks, there's a trade show as part of this coming up next Saturday. So I guess I should do dates because people don't listen to this at the same time.
That'd be the 8th, I think, Woody. That's 7 days from today.
Saturday, August 8th. We will be there. So come say hi to the InGoal crew. We're going to be a part of the entire 3-day event. Behind the scenes doing some recording and making sure that we document it, and as part of our partnership with USA Hockey, we'll be able to bring you those recordings as InGoal premium subscribers. You'll be able to access them over the coming months. We will bring the show to you, so to speak, but if you're in the area, make sure you come check it out, especially at the trade show. Yeah,
nothing beats being there in person, and we will have lots of hangout time, and we love talking goalie, so do come by. Let us know what you think of what you're seeing at the symposium. Let us know what you think about InGoal, the podcast. We just want to hear from you so that, like I said, it's just great talking goalie.
It ends on Saturday with the trade show. We may have overstayed our welcome by not coming home right away on Sunday. So if anybody's got Red Sox tickets to the afternoon game on Sunday, hit us up. We wouldn't mind checking out a Red Sox game. Memories for me. That was one of my featured stops on the journey to every Major League ballpark in 1995 that ultimately led to journalism. Last time, hey, Red Sox fans.
I've been there too.
The Sox are firing like they're as hot as any team in baseball right now. And if you're feeling pretty good about it from a karma perspective, the last time I was in Boston and went to a Red Sox game, they clinched the pennant that night in 1995. So maybe some good Woody juju by bringing me along as your guest to the Red Sox game next Sunday, August 9th. And Hutch, you're just back from Boston too. Speaking of our featured guest, Robbie Beydoun, you connected with him when you were there in Boston.
I did. He was at Brian DeCord's camp in Boston. The GCG camp for Stop a Goaltending, and Robbie came in obviously to hang out with the kids, to share some of what Vizual Edge is doing, but he also came into one of the many coaches evenings where we got together for professional development, had a couple of speakers every night, went over the next day's curriculum and so on, and Robbie was part of that. Really awesome to meet him in person. We'd obviously met over Zoom many times, but to hear his story there, to see what he's up to, just to connect in person, like we were saying about the symposium, is always an awesome thing to do. So yeah, Boston was great that time around. I have to tell you, Woody, my experience going to the Red Sox, I did not see them clinch a pennant, but as tends to happen with me, I sat down in my seats and got yapping with the guy beside me, who was a goaltender, of course, because these things just happen. So it'd be nice to hang out with another goaltender at a Red Sox game. When we were in Boston and for the camp last week, we missed seeing the Red Sox by literally hours. We had to fly out at 5 o'clock and they had an afternoon game. So the game would have ended as we were flying out. And we pulled up the social media on the game and discovered that many, if not most of the men in the stadium had decided to go tarps off and were waving their shirts over their heads. And my son was wishing that he could have been there for that experience, and I was very glad that I was not there tarps off. And everybody else in the stadium.
Yeah, like if anybody's asking me to go tarps off next Sunday, they better make sure they have sunglasses on because there will be a blinding glare off the whiteness of this body. Well, maybe I can hit up a couple. I had a really cool different sport experience myself recently. I got to have dinner with John Olerud and James Paxton. and they both played for the Boston Red Sox. So I think I should just pretend that rather than just a casual charity dinner, they're my new besties, and hit them up and see if they've got access to tickets.
Heck yeah.
That works for me. Speaking of Robbie Beydoun, speaking of Boston and your interactions with him, let's get to our Pro Reads for the week, which of course is brought to you by Robbie's company, the company he works for, Vizual Edge. Now, before we tell you a little bit about this week's Pro Reads featuring Eric Comrie, and before we tell you more about Vizual Edge, I just wanted to say, as part of Robbie's guest appearance, we've got a special for new users of Vizual Edge. Use the code IGFALL50, IGFALL50, all caps, and you can try Vizual Edge for 3 months for 50% off your first 3 months. Valid through August 31st. So for this month, to celebrate his appearance on the podcast, 50% off for new customers. This is, if you've been thinking about trying it, this is the time to do it. Make sure you head to Vizual Edge and try visualedge.com and use that code. And of course, why would you do it? Well, hey, listen, we've all known that feeling. The nights when you're out there on the ice as a goalie and the game just slows down. You're tracking pucks cleanly, reading plays early, and nothing surprises you. Then there are the nights where you're reacting instead of anticipating. You're just a split second behind. Most goalies try to solve that by getting more reps on the ice. Vizual Edge takes a different approach by training the visual and cognitive skills that help you process the game faster. Things like tracking through traffic, picking up releases earlier, recognizing patterns, and making quicker decisions under pressure. From your laptop or tablet, you take a personalized assessment to identify where your visual game can improve. Then you'll get a customized training plan that takes about 15 minutes 3 times a week, plus an open gym mode to get you as many exercises in as you wish, plus an 8-minute warm-up called Game Day Mode to get your eyes and brain locked in for puck drop. It's a key part of the routine for NHL goalies like Jordan Binnington, Swayman and Joseph Woll, and Cam Talbot, and now you can see what you can uncover in your engine under the hood. Head to visualedge.com and, as we said, use the code IGFALL50 for 50% off your first 3 months. Valid for new customers now through August 31st. This week's Pro Reads, Eric Comrie. You got Philip Forsberg, rush entry on a power play. Guy's got 358 tucks in the National. On his forehand. As a young goalie, what are you doing with Forsberg's at the top of the faceoff circle on his forehand? Where are most guys going?
Yeah, I'm looking at the preview image that we have for the article. It's on the front of InGoalMag.com right now, and I can see Forsberg with the puck. It's a little further out than top of the circles, to be honest, but you can see Comrie practically has a foot on the post. He is way inside the top of the crease. And if you are a young goalie, I would bet that you have white ice between yourself and the top of the crease. I think most young goalies would do that. But there are consequences if you do. The only thing I would say is that the pass that's about to happen in this video, not a lot of young players could make that pass either.
There's a certain skill level that comes with having 358 goals in the National, and Forsberg possesses them passing as well. So it's a great breakdown by Eric. Why, though? I think the depth almost is surprising when you see it, and then when you see the play unfold, you understand why it gives him a chance. And I think this is a conversation that we're seeing. You know, I don't know about at every league. I'm actually looking forward to being at the USA Hockey Symposium to sort of see how much there's trickled down to this. But we're certainly seeing it at the National League. Like, the game is so lateral. If you are even at the edge of your crease, there are a lot of plays, and increasing the plays that our teams are trying to make that you just don't have a chance on, or you have a very difficult chance on compared to sitting back and staying in front of it. And in this case, like you said, he's above the top of the circle, but an elite shooter. And rather than staying with him and staying on him and tracking that puck locked in like you're ready to make a save, Comrie's just sitting on it. And a little part of that is knowing that a pass is coming, that anticipation, but also trusting that he's not going to beat you from there. And so maybe easier for Eric Comrie with the experience he has than for a young goalie to not feel like they need to square up. But I know I went to school on this thinking like, yeah, that's probably a play. Some of the shooters on my high level skates, I'm out at the top of the crease, at least toes at the edge. And do you need to be? So it's a conversation we're hearing around the game. And more than anything, it's a great breakdown by Eric Comrie on the whys and sort of figuring out the whens and the whys and the whos and when you can take certain ice and when you can't. And so that's all part of ProReads this week, presented by Vizual Edge. Make sure you go check it out at ingoalmag.com. We've got a teaser little clip online on our social media channels, on all our social media channels right now. That'll give you about a 30-second breakdown. But if you want the full 3 or 4 minutes, you got to subscribe. InGoalMag.com. Make sure you go check it out, where not only do you get access to that ProReads from Eric Comrie, but you also get access to, I think we're over 350 now. There's over 35 goaltenders. Hellebuck, Demko, the biggest names in the game. And as much as we teased the new code to get 50% off your first 3 months, a reminder, if you're an InGoal subscriber, there is a subscriber-only code on every ProReads. That if you can see that code because you subscribe and you're watching the full ProReads, you can save 20% off an entire year of Vizual Edge. 50% off the first 3 months may sound really good, and it is. It's a great way to get you started and see if those 3 months are enough to keep going. But 20% over an entire year is great savings as well. So make sure if you're a subscriber, you take advantage of that. Over the course of a year, it's actually more. So check it out at ingoalmag.com. All right. We've got a busy week coming up in Boston. I'm coming off a busy week. So I'm inviting everyone to come see Hutch and I, mostly Hutch, because he's the brains of the operation in Boston. But before we get to Boston, there's a chance you might see me on ESPN.
This is this week's gear tip, I believe, Woody.
Yeah. No pun on the word tip.
Or no.
Yeah, just don't go there. Don't go there. So anyways, I got to be a part of a skate with the Canucks alumni because I have a friend that I skate with a couple times a week who also skates with the Canucks alumni. Former pro, played DEL2 and a little bit of DEL overseas in Germany, a little bit older than me. Played junior hockey around here in the lower mainland, and we've just gotten to know each other through skates over the last 10 years that we do together. But he also skates with the alumni, and they had a special night out with him last week where ESPN came up to do a story on him because he is in the final table of the main event at the World Series of Poker, which ESPN is broadcasting. So I got to sign my life away. It was pretty cool. The waivers that you had to sign to be part of the filming, it was just basically a shinny skate between a lot of guys from our group on our Monday Night Hockey and the Canucks alumni. Got to sign my life away on that one. The paperwork that you signed on the waiver, Omaha Productions, the Manning's company.
How cool is that?
That was kind of cool. I almost wanted to take a picture of that, right? Like I'm in sports media, but that's just a different level. And so we had a skate, but there was one problem, Hutch.
What's that?
I hadn't skated in a couple of weeks. I packed my bag.
That's only one. Okay, yeah. That's
packed my bags early in the day. Didn't do a thorough check like I normally before I leave. I do like a kind of walk through, like okay, like from the feet up. I'm like skates, knee pads, jock, pants, chest, neck, mask, gloves, sticks. Like, is it all there? Just a mental checklist. But I packed my bag so early in the day, didn't go through the checklist, and then had to run out the door because we had a dinner downtown, and then I got dropped off at the rink on the way back from downtown. Driving downtown, I just felt like I forgot something. So I get to the rink, and guess what I forgot?
Oh, I know. I'm not guessing.
Yeah.
Everybody else out there, think to yourself, what might Woody have forgotten?
He forgot his goalie jock. He forgot his goalie jock as he's about to head into a video shoot and a game with, I think there were 15 ex-NHLers as part of this on the other side, on the Canucks alumni side. No can. Absolute panic. Embarrassment.
But it was not a question of no can do because you did do.
Well, I did not have much of a choice. Could not leave them without a second goalie for this. We did have two goalies amongst the alumni skaters. Corey Hirsch and Bill Ranford were both skating. Billy Ranford skates with the Canucks alumni because he lives in nearby New Westminster for the most part. And so I didn't make him proud by being the goalie that showed up without a can. And so good news is, remember those bulletproof jocks that we got sent years ago?
Do very well.
Somehow there was one in my bag. I have no idea why. I must have wanted to just show it to somebody, but it was still in my bag. So I took the bulletproof jock and I taped it into the inside liner of my goalie pants. So a little bit of protection there. Not exactly fit or hugging the right areas. And then I was thought about stuffing a towel down there. I had an extra padded shirt in my bag. I thought about using that and shoving that down the front of the pants. The guy in the other end of the net, Matty Johnson, great guy, way better goalie than me. Get to play against him a whole bunch of times, and every time I do, I lose. But he was in the other end, and he's like, Woods, take your mask bag and fold it up and just shove it down. Just kind of fold it up like almost like a goalie jock shape and shoved it down there, and that's what I did, and I survived. So thanks, Matty Johnson, for the tip. Because I probably would have just shoved the towel down there and it would have been halfway through the game. It would have been coming out through my pant leg.
There's something you haven't told me in all this, though. You said you survived. Did you survive because nothing hit you there? Or did you survive because you created a new way of protecting a goaltender?
I definitely took some sort of lower abdomen that I didn't feel. But I definitely, let's be honest. I struggle at the best of times. And sort of trying to stay off square a little bit because you're trying to square and be centered on everything. And I sort of wanted to be off center on everything for this game a little bit.
You trap enough pucks in a game with just a simple gut trap.
Yeah, I did plenty of gut traps. But nothing hit me, thank goodness. Let's just say I didn't extend my stay for warmups. I didn't go out early and take a whole lot of shots. But yeah, I survived. There was no incidents. My performance, however, if I do end up as B-roll as part of this feature on my friend Greg Mueller.
Woody, come on, let's just go. You were in this and it was awesome.
I'm in it and I was awesome, and I wore pads that had an InGoal logo on them because I absolutely had to make sure we got a little love on one of our retro eFlex 7 sets that has our logo on it. So hopefully ESPN captures me there. My boy, who's the feature of that interview and of that story, Greg Mueller, did score one on a breakaway on me, so I think that increases my odds of you seeing me in the segment itself.
I know you let it in on purpose.
Yeah, no, I wish I could say I did. It caught me off guard with a quick shot. He almost always deeks, so must have been the end of a shift. Anyways, hey, just congratulations to him too. Like, great guy, great story. Learned to play poker riding the buses in DEL2 and DEL over in Germany. A lot of card games on the back of the bus. Going from one city to the next, has 3 World Series of poker rings already, but never main event, never final table in a main event. In line to win as much as $10 million this week, US, as part of the final table. And, you're going to see his story. You'll see it a lot, and good for him. Everybody's cheering for him. It was a really cool night to be a part of, even though I did so without my goalie, Jock.
Children, do not try this at home.
Yeah, this is a gear tip, pardon the pun, that nobody wants to risk.
Please
remember to pack your can.
Because there's dumb kids out there doing it already.
Well, and this is the other thing too, right? Like, if this is like a normal skate, I'm going to find a way, right? Like, I'm going to, but there's an embarrassment. Like, I was pretty embarrassed that I had to ask, and I was worried. I didn't want to tell too many people. And so,
Billy, do you have an extra cup?
Like, I did tell him. I think he was just ashamed of me, just shaking his head. What an idiot. But you can't go around at yeah. So it was a little rough, not my finest moment. But man, what a great night. What a great group too. Like, the alumni is so kind. Thankfully, the only time that Cliffy Running got mad and tried to quickly tie the score, I was in the other end. I was on his team when somebody chirped him and he decided to score 3 goals in like 2 minutes. That guy can still turn you inside out. So it was really fun to be a part of that. And like I said, haven't seen the final clips, but I signed my life away to Omaha Productions. Let's see if any of it ends up on that ESPN broadcast. And good luck to our good friend Greg Mueller in his quest to add a 4th bracelet, none bigger than the main event. All right, we're on to the parent segment, my friend. Time for you. I've been talking enough. People are sick and tired of hearing me. Let's go parent segment, presented by the Stop It Goaltending You app. And since you were just in Boston, I'll handle this read, because if you would like 25 years of NHL goalie experience at your fingertips, if you would like to tap into the goalie parenting expertise that helped Joey Decord reach the NHL, all you got to do is get a subscription to the Stop It Goaltending You app. All the knowledge from Brian Decord has been an NHL goalie coach, scout, and director, as well as all the insights and expertise from his staff at Stop It, which includes a long list of veteran NCAA coaches, NHL goalie scouts, and pro scouts at every level, all delivered in easy-to-digest chunks, including 5 short daily primers, weekly style analysis, breakdown videos, and drills that you can take onto the ice with your team and coach. Plus, I was talking about that InGoal subscription and how important it is to get other discounts and all the great information we have on there. It's included with a subscription to Stop It Goaltending You, the app. You get the best of both worlds. So check it out now at the App Store or Google Play and get your subscription to Stop It Goaltending You, the app, and a subscription to InGoal magazine included. Hutch.
It's summertime, and I think it's one of the best times that you can help your young goalie learn to handle and shoot the puck. Everybody loves a goalie goal. And shout out to our goalie goals page. My kid loves handling the puck. I think I worked it out that he'd average 15 to 20 handles a game. He just loves doing it, but he's also been playing the puck since he was very, very young. And it's not a new idea, by the way. 2 of the best puck handling goalies of their era, Mike Smith and Carey Price, both credit the habits that they've built as kids in some of our discussions with them. So here's a few things. I'm going to call this 7 tips for helping your young goaltender learn how to handle the puck. Number 1, I think this applies on so many levels. Play out as long as you can. Before your kid commits to being in the crease full time, let them keep playing out as a skater. If they want to do both for a while, that's great too, if your system will allow you to do it. But every shift as a forward or a defenseman is building stick handling, passing, and skating skills that a lot of goalies never get or never get enough of. Number 2, speaking of Stop It Goaltending, use a player's stick when they're too young for a goalie stick. I know, lots of you think you gotta force them to use those big mitts and the big heavy goalie stick or they'll never learn it. Well, I got news for you. Joey Decord himself on this podcast made the point with his father that they learned with a regular player's stick. And I've seen him on the ice with a player's stick in Boston, and he can rip the puck. You're just not strong enough to do it as a kid. It makes it hard. It makes it unfun, miserable experience. Let them use a player's stick. And I'm also going to give credit to Coach Angelo Maggio over here in British Columbia on this one. A lot of goaltenders shoot right-handed natively, but then when you carry that stick in your blocker hand, you have to shoot left-handed as a goaltender. So around age 7, Angelo had us get a left-handed player's stick for our son. Never used it exclusively, but he did use it in the backyard for reps, and it helped him learn how to shoot the puck left-handed. Shoot pucks in the backyard, as we're talking about that. Just like any skater, reps are reps. It doesn't just build skill, it builds strength. Get yourself a couple of shooting tiles, piece of plastic, whatever it is, bucket of old pucks, and shoot a bunch every day. 20, 50, 100, whatever your goal might be. Have some fun with it. We would tie tin cans to the corners of the net so that he could shoot for the targets. Just go out there and, as I've always said before, Mom and Dad, do it with them too. Build strength. This is tip number 4. Build strength. We have an article specifically on this at ingoalmag.com from our good friend Maria Mountain, and I will link it in the show notes. Some simple exercises you can do to build strength specifically for shooting. Number 5, learn the technique. Of course, handling the puck isn't just about confidence. It's about footwork. It's about body position and knowing where to play the puck before you get there. That is a long, huge topic we can cover, but you need to get that opportunity to learn to play the puck, whether it's one of your summer camps, whether it's being lucky enough to have a coach who supports it in your regular practices, but we really have to learn how to do it properly as well. Number 6, speaking of practice, pass every puck you possibly can in practice. Don't just freeze it or kick it into the corner. If you get a chance to make a play, make a play. If you're just moving pucks around to help the coach, make a good pass. You see players going around and you're at the end of the ice on your own, make a few passes. Do what you can in practice all the time to work on this skill. And number 7, finally, work on your skating, especially getting behind the net, getting back in front. If the puck's at the other end during a drill and you've got some free time as a goaltender, use some time to rip back behind your net as if you're stopping a rim, and then getting back in as if you've got to get back there in a hurry. Learning to look up ice and see what traffic is there. Just learning the footwork to get back there as quickly as you possibly can. It's going to help you with everything you do on the ice. So 7 tips to help you become a better puck handler. The summertime is a great time. If you haven't done it already, get out in the backyard and start ripping some biscuits.
I got tip number 8.
Go for it.
Dylan Garand. The end of his skating session. I've been promising for a little while. I've been working on it all morning. We'll have it up soon. Guess what he does? He goes back behind the net and handles pucks for the final 10 minutes
he is so
of his
good
hour-long skating session. So it clearly makes it a part of his summer routine. It's not an accident that he's good at it. So we'll have that up for you at InGoalMag.com shortly. Great advice, Hutch.
Dylan's ability to stop a rim on the glass and pull it down with his stick is unbelievable. The eye-hand coordination that guy has obviously comes from years of practice.
Have you ever heard the story about his first game in the WHL handling the puck?
No, I don't think I have.
He told it while we were on the ice that day. I didn't have it in the segment, but I'm going to tell it out of school here because he got put into the game. I think he came in off the bench. I think he was straight out of midget. And the confidence to get out of his net and handle the puck was immediate and evident. But the problem was his goalie coach, Dan DePalma, had forgotten to tell him about the trapezoid, which wasn't a part of his life.
Yes, I bet.
Playing minor hockey, but suddenly was a very real part of his life in the Western Hockey League. So I think his first touch ended up in a penalty for playing the puck in the trapezoid, and Dan owned it fully. It wasn't a detail that he had gone over with the young man, not expecting him as a call-up to get into the game that night. I think Don Hay was the coach at the time. So some looks were exchanged. Dan owned it, and it now provides a good chuckle between the two anytime they revisit his puck handling. His first touch was a penalty. So good story there, and lots of good stuff from Dylan up at InGoalMag.com right now.
I having seen a lot of goaltenders go through that first game experience with a trapezoid, a lot of people think, well, you just have to know where you can touch the puck, but there's a lot more to it actually, Woody, because as a puck comes behind the net, if it's not ripped around, you're stuck in this judgment area. Is it going to make it into the trapezoid? Should I go for it? What do I do? And you see kids get stuck there in no man's land and burn for that reason as well. So it affects your reads a lot too.
You got to be able to skate as part of it too, right? Being able to get out there and get out quick. And I got to say, before we head to our feature interview, we got Robbie Beydoun sitting in the green room, ready to come up here. Quick shout out to Connor Lacouve, because in addition to the alumni skate, my last week included my first ever beer league goalie camp.
It's your first ever goalie camp, let's be honest.
Yeah, as a goalie, yeah, absolutely. So it was kind of fun. I'd never done it before. And before anybody says, oh, this is just in goal, taking advantage of free opportunities. No, I saw that he had it coming up, and I signed up and I registered and I paid like everybody else. And I just wanted to be one of the beer league goalies. And it was awesome. Now, we have solved a few things about why Woody sucks, including the fact that Woody can't skate. So learn all those drills that all these NHL goalies make look like they're just walking down the street. They skate so well and so easily. A lot harder. Now, it didn't help that my bad knee blew up after the alumni skate, so I did a lot of these drills on one leg. I tried my best. I definitely did not do the InGoal brand, very proud, Hutch, but I did the effort part of our show, very proud.
Woody,
I worked really hard.
Then you did the brand proud, because that's what we keep preaching here. Just go out and have fun.
We had a great time. Connor did a great job. Everybody was raving about it after. It was just a 2-day camp, maybe some opportunities to expand this in the near future. So thanks to him for putting on the camp. It was great to get out there with fellow beer leaguers, including Mr. Fred Iwaniak, formerly of Corner Gas, local Vancouver actor, and of course, one of the all-time great people, but also heck of a goalie. Skates super well. Really passionate goaltender. So we've discussed the option of having a few projects.
For our American friends, Corner Gas, a legendary Canadian TV show.
Yeah, it's like Seinfeld for Canadians.
Yes, there you go.
Unfortunately for Fred, it didn't come up with the same
Seinfeld residuals,
the same residuals and same rights.
Sorry, Woody, I don't know if you mentioned how many goalies were there? Because there's a lot of goalie coaches out there that probably don't realize there's a market for them to help adult goaltenders.
I think there was 23. I think we're down to 19 by day 2 because day 1 beat up a few of us. Yeah. But I think there's around 21 to 23. Sold out completely. As a matter of fact, like I got one of the last spots and was supposed to do it with a friend, but he got injured right heading into the camp. Every single goalie there was asking for more. And obviously Connor goes back and plays pro in Europe, so he can't do the more during the regular season. But a whole bunch of us were like, let's get a goalie group going. I know we have our normal skates and some play beer league and I've got my skates, but it's like, let's pick a day of the week and see if we can find a coach where we can all get on the ice and actually work on these things. Because at the end of the day, although Connor had great advice, because this is the problem. Like, you don't, as a beer leaguer, you don't get to work on this stuff, right? You just don't get to work on it. He sort of walked us through how to use your 5 minutes that you have or your 3 minutes that you have before the game starts to work on these things and get sharp and ready to stop pucks. So some great advice there. Everybody wanted more of it. So yeah, there's a note to goalie coaches everywhere that there's a demand there. There are those of us that play for fun that still really do want to get better.
We should just say, our regular host of the podcast, Mr. Darren Millard, the reason we met in the first place is he had the courage to message Eli Wilson and say, would you let an adult come to one of your camps?
I didn't know that.
And it wasn't an adult camp. Darren just hopped in there with the kids and worked on his goaltending. And I was working a little bit with Eli at the time. So I saw the message and got in touch with Darren, and that's sort of what led to us doing this show together.
That's awesome. I knew there was an Eli connection to the show. I didn't realize it was him just like cold calling, can I come out? That's a reason he handles some practice duty for the Vegas Golden Knights. That is bravery in its purest form. Attaboy, Mr. Millard. So we had a good time. Good time was had by all. And I got to say, the conversation about making it a little bigger next year and maybe making it an InGoal thing, maybe we get Mr. Millard out, maybe seeing if we can add a couple celeb goalies to come out and spend an evening, have a dinner with a Billy Ranford or with a Corey, with a guy who played in the NHL and sort of pick their brains on top of the camp. Although the one hard part of that is we said, hey, do we do a golf in between golf on the Sunday morning before the camp? For some of us, it was like straight to bed after the first day.
I was going to say,
like the
definitely
legs,
need carts. You wouldn't be walking that round.
Yeah, the legs were a little cooked. The legs were definitely a little cooked. Those skating drills. And I got lucky. First day, like there was 2 ends. Like one end, they did 3 stations. And then the skating was on the other end. And I did the skating second. So I already had a chance to do the more like save type of situations before I went to the skating. And then the next day I got swapped because the poor buggers did the skating first. He had no legs left for the second part. But
for kids, it's a warm up to do the skating.
100%. Yeah. Kids are bendy and flexible and they recover. The 53-year-old body on one leg.
To throw around the crease too when you're a kid.
Yeah, the 53-year-old on one leg doesn't recover quite so fast. I made it through, but I wore out the hot and ice machine when I got back after that second day. Hot tub, ice, hot tub, ice, hot tub, ice. That's my recovery routine. So Connor, thank you very much. All right, speaking of beer league goalies, now, but clearly better than us before. Still does some playing, still does some coaching, still very much involved in the game. Robbie Beydoun, our feature guest, with a great story. Before we get there, Hutch, our presenting sponsor of the feature interview, NHL Sense Arena. Why don't you tell us what is it about NHL Sense Arena in the summer?
What is it about Sense Arena in the summer? Great time to be using it. NHL Sense Arena is the official VR training partner of InGoal Magazine and the leading virtual reality platform for hockey players and goaltenders. As you know, if you've ever listened to this podcast, if you've listened for any length of time, you have heard us talk about the value of quality repetitions. And NHL Sense Arena gives you the opportunity to get those reps anytime, anywhere. Don't need ice. Don't have to be at home. You just need to be able to connect into that headset and get playing hockey. With game-realistic situations designed to challenge your reads, your tracking, anticipation, decision-making. It's not about replacing your ice time, but it's about making the most of the time you have between practices and games, or In the case of a lot of goaltenders, it's also getting ready for those practices and games before you step onto the ice. Now, whether you are a young goalie who's looking to accelerate his development, or a competitive player trying to just gain an edge, or maybe you're an experienced goaltender like Woody wanting to sharpen your hockey sense, NHL Sense Arena offers drills and scenarios that translate directly to what you'll see on the ice. With regular updates and training designed alongside elite coaches and goaltenders, it's become an important part of the development toolbox for goalies at every level, right up to the National Hockey League. As the calendar's flipping over to August now, it is a great time to get those extra reps going as the season is just around the corner. So to learn more, go visit sensearena.com and see why more and more goalies are adding VR training to their weekly routine. They now have some great off-season pricing in effect, and as always, use the code IGM50 and you will save even more, Woody.
To our featured guest, presented by NHL Sense Arena, Robbie Beydoun. It may not be a name you're familiar with, but I promise you, I guarantee you, it is an interview worth sticking around for. I enjoyed it, I learned a ton, and I know you will too. Here is Robbie Beydoun. Really excited to welcome to the InGoal Radio Podcast. First time guest, but somebody we've known for years through his work as a strategic advisor and business development. Basically a man of all hats with Vizual Edge and the training they do for goalies and beyond other sports. I want to talk about that. But before that, Robbie Beydoun had a pretty good playing career too. And you've done like a little practice goalie stuff at times. 3 years at Michigan Tech, University of Wisconsin, 1 year of pro where you had like a 920 in the ECHL and a 926 in your American League experience. So I sort of want to know why you didn't keep playing, to be honest with you, because those are pretty damn good numbers, my friend. How are you?
Good, man. Yeah, it's been awesome to stay connected with you guys in my post-playing career, and also just find ways to be connected to the game still. I think there's one thing about this game and this goalie position, and it'll never keep me away. So yeah, I'm happy to kind of dive into any specific area, but
well, let's go through your path. Let's walk me through, like we do this with everybody. So growing up in Plymouth, Michigan, how'd you become a goalie and who were your guys?
My parents are from the Middle East. They were born in Lebanon. So they didn't know what hockey was. I don't think that there's one even ice rink in Lebanon. And when they migrated to Detroit, we ended up in Plymouth, and there was a rink which is now called USA Hockey Arena right down the street from us. So my sister, her name is Julia, she's 3 years older than me. She started figure skating. So I ended up spending a lot of time at the rink. They had an OHL team there, the Plymouth Whalers.
Yeah.
A lot of good players came through that program, and I thought that was the NHL. I just absolutely loved going to those games. I wanted to be a hockey player. I loved the game. I loved being on the ice. I loved being a rink rat, but I was not good at any other position other than being in the net. They threw me in the net. When in house hockey, when you're trying the different positions, the rink gives you the pads, and I got a shutout, and everybody told me I was really good at it. And I was like, well, if I want to be a hockey player, I think that this is the way that I'm going to do it. And they never told me to get out of the net.
I love it. And so you end up playing NAHL, 3 years in the USHL, Fargo for 2 of them, Waterloo. At what point along that path from a kid whose parents didn't know anything about hockey to playing NCAA Div 1 hockey, where did you sort of hit that point where it's like, hey, this is something I could do for a while? And was the passion just what fueled it? Was it just the passion, or did you start to look at those as objectives?
Man, that's such an interesting question, because it's just something I often don't think that much about. But I think I really loved the art and the strategy of the position, because I was never the most athletically gifted. I was never seen as a prospect. I was never selected for the USA Hockey Festivals, or I was never drafted or anything. I never was the prettiest looking goalie in net, but I just was addicted to, come game time, finding a way to just give up less goals than the other goalie across from me. And even at goalie camps or in practice, like I never probably was the best goalie, but I just had this thing come game time. Obviously, not that I was perfect, but I really just loved reading the play and being a hockey mind and not just being a goalie. And I think once I knew that was what I was good at, I could continue to find a way to just make the next jump, whether that be going from AAA to the NAL, finding a way to the USHL, finding a way to Div 1, and so on and so forth. So I always somehow snuck in the back door somewhere into the rink, and then found a way to make a home at pretty much every stop along the way.
Okay, so choosing that way to do it as your focal point, reading the game, and we talk about this, and interestingly enough, we talk about this a lot with Visual Edge. People think of it as purely a visual tool, but there's a cognitive element to it. We'll get to that. But how'd you go about it back then? Because you wouldn't have had a Visual Edge to help you. We're probably, we're talking about like USHL was 12 years ago. Probably not a lot of video work. Probably like we're not in the era of Instat where you could look up your videos. Yeah. So how did you go about sort of just learning those patterns of the game to be better at it?
I think something that's super underrated, and it's not rocket science, but it's thinking of the game of hockey and not just thinking of goalie technique and trying to be not to over index on like save selection and when to RVH and whatever. Like I actually compare it a lot to a golf swing, where it's like you could be spending all day, every day analyzing the attack angle and your wrist and the tempo of the upswing and downswing. Not that those things aren't important, but at least how my brain works, if I rely a lot on feel, and if I'm too focused on all of the details, I get super overwhelmed, and I just try to play the course. I just try to focus on what's in front of me and not think so much about myself. So to kind of answer your main question, I really became just a student of the game, not just watching hockey and thinking about what the goalie is doing. Of course, I'm doing that, but actually understanding like how a forecheck works, or understanding what the strategy is of my team's power play. Like, I think often goalies just focus on what they need to do. And of course, right, you have one job on the team to keep the puck out of the net. Right. But I think diving a layer deeper and actually understanding the minds of the offensive attack, the defensive attack, it's something that I think more goalies growing up should focus on, because ultimately it's about what separates the good from the great goalies is their ability to just naturally read hockey plays. And the better you can do that, the better pattern recognition that you can have.
Right. Mitch Korn, who I know uses Visual Edge, talks a lot about goalie's not a game of shots, it's a game of patterns. And so watching a ton of hockey and identifying those patterns sounds like the path that you took to sort of continue to rise up the levels.
Absolutely.
Now, did you we've had guys over the years notebooks, things like as they're watching watching the game? Do you anything like that?
Oh yeah, you can ask. I would get chirped so much by my teammates on long bus rides or whatever it is. Like, Robbie, you writing raps in there? You writing poems? Or you writing a book? And I was like, maybe one day. I think I still have somewhere in the basement just
so you were a notebook guy. What give me an example of what kind of things you'd put in there if you can remember them that helped you, again, improve those ability to recognize patterns and read the game.
There's not this specific structure that I had with it. I kind of it was very therapeutic for me. I almost kind of thought about it of like, okay, if I'm watching a game of hockey, and whether it's actually happening or if it's a placebo, it made me feel like if I just had a notebook with me as I'm just going through life, and even if it's something simple like a one sentence or a couple words, I kind of just felt like I was almost downloading that information and I wasn't just having an insight and then it being lost in an abyss. And even till this day, I'm not as diligent with it,
Right.
but even till this day, if I'm reading a book, or if I'm in a meeting, or if I just come across a podcast or something that's interesting to me, I'll just make a little note about it and then see where it goes. So that was kind of my approach to the game of hockey. Just always keeping a notebook by you and making sure that you're really thinking deeply about something and not just seeing something at the surface level. Like I think one little example, and I take this approach. That's also why I think I've grown my love for the game and the position, even more so after stopping pucks.
Right. Your passion has always come through.
Because there's things that transcend. There's variables that transcend the position that you can take with you in every area of your life. And when I heard that when I was playing, that was very cheesy, I always thought. But now that I'm in the business world, or I'm coaching goalies or whatever it is, I'm finding these things actually to become true. And because again, I didn't make it to the NHL, right? I didn't make a full career out of playing. And when you asked me the question, why'd you stop playing? Or, why didn't you keep going? And I often ask myself those same questions, but that's what really energizes me. And that's what makes it all worth it. The relationships that you build, right? From the NHL to the USHL, to numerous college teams, numerous pro teams, the relationships and just like those core insights that you gain. And I guess stepping back a little bit, like one example would be when you see a problem or you see a goal given up. I think often you think you think of the symptom, or you think of you see it and you're like, oh, that goalie got beat glove side or whatever it is. But having the approach of going to the deep root, maybe what happened before that, maybe he wasn't set, maybe he didn't get his eyes there, or whatever it may be, like really just having that approach. That's how it kind of connects to the journaling, of just thinking of deep roots to why things are happening. I always try to keep that with me. And that started from journaling in my goaltending days. It's a long-winded answer.
No, it's great. It's a great answer. I mean,
some good insight.
No, like one of my kids was taught at one point to like she makes notes when she's studying. She just you're not just reading through something. It sort of ensures that you're digging deeper into your understanding of it. So it makes perfect sense. And we hear this a lot. I mean, like you said, you didn't play a long time as a pro, but you played goaltender for a long time, and you clearly still have a passion for it. We see people having success in all walks of life. Canada's prime minister was a goalie, right? Like your ability to to manage. Yeah, we gotta be careful here. We don't want to get political. Some love him, some hate him, but that ability to sort of like problem solve and approach things in a like that we sort of are forced to manage our emotions as goal. Like these things all pay off in other ways in life. You're living that right now.
So many different ways. I mean, we could spend the whole pod just talking about that. I mean, adaptability, right? That's something that I think is just a core skill to be a successful goalie. Like you're thrown into so many random environments in the middle of the cornfields, driving through the night, showing up, needing to answer the bell on the back end of a 3-and-3. Everybody's gassed. You're like a zombie, and you got to find a way to adapt to that situation, right? It doesn't matter how you're doing that. It doesn't matter what technique you're using. It's just your ability as a human being to show up and lock in that scenario, and that serves you literally with anything. So I always enjoy coming back to those key areas that I'm now seeing are the reasons that made me a decent goalie. It wasn't about my ability to stop the puck. It was about those areas that are really just core skills as a human.
Okay, so you mentioned the 3-and-3s and the bus rides and you played 1 year pro and cup of coffee in the A, most of it in the ECHL. Some teammates that we know when I looked at the hockey DB, Dylan Ferguson down there in the ECHL with you, and Fergie's still playing overseas. Hunter Jones was it?
Till this day.
You've got a wedding coming up in a month. How many old teammates are headed to that?
Yeah, well, it's funny when you mentioned Ferg. So Fergie's old man. Shout out the global diamond broker. I think that's his name. He's got awesome on Instagram. Yeah, his name's Colin. And I remembered, so about a year and a half ago when I proposed to my fiance, I was like, right, what's the next thing when you decide when you want to propose, right? Where are you going to get the ring? How do you get a ring? How the heck does all of this work? And I just remember Ferg, because we were really close when we were playing that year in Fort Wayne, because we had a deep playoff run and everything. And I remember him telling me years ago that his dad was a diamond broker. So I was like, let me just hit up Ferg. And they took care of me. It was an awesome experience. My fiance literally still smiles at her ring every day to this day. So shout out to the Fergusons. And then Fergie just got me my wedding band for myself. So
nice.
So yeah, it's been a fun way to stay connected with Ferg. And yeah, like I said at the top of the call, like it's something where the relationships never leave you.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing that maintaining those relationships, even in small ways, doesn't mean you have to talk to everybody on your team every year, but just finding like a random little touch point. Just because I thought about Ferg that one day last year, like it's turned into us keeping in touch way more often. So I think that's super important. That's also another good takeaway is like everybody says be a good teammate, right? That's obvious, but it's like about the why. Of course, you be a good teammate to be a good teammate for that year in that present moment, but being a good teammate is something that carries with you even after the game as well.
Yeah, no, it's a good reminder. I think we hear it a lot. Just sometimes you lose touch with people and reach out every once in a while, see how they're doing. It absolutely has value. Now you play. So you finished. You go from playing 3 years at Michigan Tech, last year at Wisconsin. Then at the end of that season, like you said, long run with Fort Wayne, cup of coffee with the Iowa Wild as part of that. And then you stop playing. Can I ask why?
Yeah.
Was it opportunities? I know you're a 6-footer, and that was 5-6 years ago in an era where they wanted every goalie to be 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to tell myself that, I really just wanted to move on, and it was totally my decision. But yeah, for some of the reasons I mentioned, I was never this highly touted prospect. I was really never in a position where my phone was blowing up with opportunities. Okay. I had to kind of scratch and claw for every inch. And I honestly, that became a big part of my identity. And it was honestly a way that I played the position with always playing with a chip on my shoulder and just showing up and realizing like nobody really expected me to be here, wanted me to be here. So I got nothing to lose. I'm going to be a warrior. And I always just kind of kept that mindset. So yeah, I had that year back and forth between the A and the Coast.
That's a tough life too, when you're bouncing.
Yeah. I mean, you really got to love the game. Not that I didn't love the game, but it was more so what it really came down to for me, Woody, is just I had a good opportunity that came up outside of the ice, but still in the game. So I thought it was a good transition. And I spent my whole life studying stopping pucks and being obsessed with stopping pucks. And I could just be happy spending my whole life doing that too. But I've always been somebody that enjoys doing a lot of different things.
Okay.
And I really wanted to just expand my horizons and just learn and find a different craft. Always be connected, and we can obviously get into that. Always be connected to what one of my biggest passions in life is hockey and goaltending. But also just learning more on what I can be good at, what fires me up, and that started to kind of be technology and business, and then that led to my first job outside of playing, which was at the NHL on the business side.
Well, and I don't mean to push, but the only reason I push is because like you won your only start in the A, had a 926. Yeah. You went 7-3 in the Coast for that Fort Wayne team with a 920. So like you had success in that one small sample, and that's why I was curious. Like So take me to the job to the NHL before we, and where does Vizual Edge start to fit into this in terms of something you're using and then something you ultimately end up, being involved with deeper than that?
Yeah. So I'll connect the dots, but step back in the timeline a little bit. So I was at Michigan Tech. College hockey is very tough, and it's actually getting even tougher with how it's opened up, right? We all know that. But college hockey is tough from a goaltender standpoint because there's only like 35, 40 games. Okay. That's not that many games. And there's only, at least when I was playing, there's only 2 games, Friday and Saturday, a week. So the reason I say that is because a goalie could play every game the whole season and not be gassed, right? It's not like in pro where it'd be pretty impossible to be playing every single game, right? That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So the reason I mention that is how it works in college hockey for the most part is you got your horse and you ride the horse pretty much all year unless that horse kind of maybe gets hurt, has a rough patch, whatever. That's how opportunity opens up in goaltending. But in college hockey, it's depending on the situation, you can easily get buried in a whole season or even for a whole career.
Yeah.
When I was at Michigan Tech, I never was able to fully take the reins and run all year. Every game, every season, I played games, but
I was gonna say, you didn't sit there. You played 11, you played 12.
No, I was always active.
You had a 931 in your second season with 12 games.
Yeah. So as you can see, I think my third year, which was my junior year, I only had like 3 games played.
Yeah, saw that.
And man, you grow up, going to college was a big eye opener for me because it showed me that I was actually interested in things outside of just stopping the puck. Right. I was very involved in the business school there and computer science there as well. I was able to scratch that itch for expanding my horizons, and it ended up turning into a job offer back home in Detroit at GM in engineering during my junior year at Tech. And I was like, I'm graduating this year because I was able to graduate early with summer classes and classes before I got to campus from.
You weren't just you were a student. You were a student athlete as opposed to an athlete student.
My whole thing was I spent all of these years, 3 years of junior hockey, all of the investment that my parents put into private lessons and everything so I could get here. I was not going to waste $1 of that just by screwing off at school. Not to say that, you need to take an engineering degree or whatever
in
it is.
3 years.
Whatever I was going to do, I was not going to waste that.
It's impressive. Okay. So GM offer.
Yeah. So that's the whole point of the story is I was done. I was going to be done playing because listen, I never thought I was going to make it to D1 hockey when I was a kid. I just loved stopping pucks. And the fact that I was able to do that was awesome. And I was good with that. Right. It sounds crazy. In the moment, I was like, I should be pro. I should, it's kind of, it was a bad association. I was like, I'm kind of done with this. Screw this.
Yeah.
But also, again, the game always keeps me around. So I was done. And then I hit the transfer portal. Everybody knows the transfer portal now.
Yeah.
But when I was in the transfer portal, the only way that you could transfer to another school and play right away was if you were a graduate transfer. So that's if you got your undergrad and then you still had eligibility. Right. Now it's different. You could probably, there's athletes that play at 3-4 schools. Nothing wrong with that either, but it's just a little bit different. And I think I understood that if there's one school out there that wants to bring in a veteran who's seen it all, has a tough chin, has played college games, has played USHL games, that there would be something that came up. And there wasn't too many good opportunities that were exciting me that came up, to be honest with you. So I was like, oh man, that was fun to be wanted again, just to hit the portal and getting calls, getting offers. It was cool. And then 3-4 weeks passed and nothing was coming up super interesting. And then the University of Wisconsin called me, go Badgers. And they said that they saw my name in the portal. They remembered seeing me from years prior, and something was opening up, and then said, you know what? That would be a very fun way to give my final lap to college hockey. Whatever happens there happens. We could be the worst team. We could be the best team, but I'm going to go there and get a master's degree, have fun at a big campus, and let the chips fall where they may. So that's kind of how that led.
Play 21 games and post a 919, by the way. While doing grad school.
No. Yeah, it always helps having a good team. I mean, Cole Caufield, Obie Baker winner was my roommate. Dylan Holloway, top player in the league now for St. Louis.
I heard of him.
You've heard of him, yeah.
Heard of him,
so
they say.
We had like 3 or 4 All-Americans. You have to work hard to put yourself in a position to get lucky, and that's ultimately what happened in that scenario. They wanted a veteran guy. They had a bunch of guys coming back. There was also still a lot of uncertainty going into that year with COVID. Like, we didn't start the season until I think November.
That's the other part of this that I sort of, it's funny, I shouldn't gloss over, but it's easy to sort of just forget. Like, the world was upside down at that point too.
Yeah. We always say the only bad thing about that year, because we had so much fun. Like, as we talked about, I'm getting married next month. I have a ton of my Badger teammates coming to it. And I was only there for 1 year. And I built such strong relationships just from that 1 year on that team. We were so close. And the only bad thing about it was only our parents that were able to come watch us in person that year. So it was kind of like this eerie feeling being in these like cool Big Ten rinks. And there's like, it feels like a AAA hockey game where it's like just parents watching. I don't know, man. It was an interesting experience, but when you have a good group of teammates, you kind of find a way to make the best out of any situation.
And when that year ends, you get the opportunity to play a little pro, and then after that, it's just time to go into the workforce. What'd you end up doing with the NHL?
Yeah. So I'll connect the dots on that, but I also think an important part of the story too is realizing that like every single stop on the way like wasn't supposed to happen. Scratched and clawed. Again, it was COVID, so my season ended. Like you said, I had a pretty good year on paper. 20 games, 919 or 920, whatever. We won the Big Ten, and I thought that for sure, especially with the pro season starting in January that year and the college season ending in like March, there was still a huge sample size of playing time for that year. So I was like, I can definitely hop on a pro team. I don't need to wait until next year.
Right.
Because again, going into that year, I was kind of just hoping to play 1 year of college hockey, one final year, and then kind of wrap it up. And then every coast team had like 2 or 3 goalies, and there was only 12 coast teams playing because it was COVID.
Right.
They rely heavily on gate. And then every AHL team had like 3 goalies. And even I think there was a handful of AHL teams that decided not to even play that year. So a lot of teams in the AHL were like Nashville and Carolina's organization mixed into one, for example. So there weren't jobs, there weren't openings, even if you had a great year in college hockey.
So again, it was a very unusual season for sure.
Very unusual. So I was cold calling coast teams, just begging, hey, if something happens, I'll hop in my truck and drive. 3-4 weeks passed. I was honestly really enjoying just the normal student life in Madison. Things were opening up again after COVID. We just got to, like, we were playing tennis. Like, that was the only physical activity I did during that time, was just like play tennis with my teammates. So I always shout out kind of tennis for keeping me dialed. And I still did my Visual Edge stuff to keep my eyes going, which we'll touch on at some point. But Fort Wayne called Fergie, I believe. I think he hurt his finger playing rebound or something. I think that was the story. And they were like, hey, our NHL signed goalie hurt his finger playing rebound after practice. You want to come up for the weekend? And I was like, all right, we did it. We finally got paid to stop a puck. No matter what happens in this one weekend, I got paid to stop a puck.
And Fort Wayne's like not too far for you. Like, even though you're at Wisconsin, like it's sort of like backyard home wise.
Yeah, you would think so. It's not that far from Detroit, but I've never had been there in my entire life.
Okay.
Like, you could have told me Fort Wayne was in Idaho, and I would have been like, yeah, okay. Like, no, never heard of it. But yeah, that was a cool element. Like, my parents were able to come watch me play almost every game.
That's cool.
And yeah, anyway, I showed up for that one weekend, and this is also a cool part of the story because I think it's so important, is I showed up to Fort Wayne so light because they told me I was really only going to be there for that weekend, and I was just kind of a fill-in. And I was like, I'm out of here regardless. Like, why not just, like, I hadn't skated in 3-4 weeks, barely worked out. I was like, I might as well just enjoy this one game of pro that I have. And I just showed up there and, like, was a kid having fun. And I threw up a shutout. Like, it was maybe the most fun I had playing hockey that whole season. And I was like, gosh dang it. Like, it's kind of hard to manufacture that situation every night.
But you see the value of the mindset.
But man, it was so impactful. And I kind of just kept riding that wave. I think I played a couple more games. They obviously, if you get a shutout, they're not going to send you back. Right? Yeah. So I got a shutout. I think I played 2 more games and then ended up getting maybe goalie of the week or something. Then I was in the AHL. And I was like, what the heck just happened?
That's amazing.
So that's kind of the hockey component.
You've mentioned it a couple times. When did you start? Because now you're working with Vizual Edge in a deeper capacity, amongst other jobs. You mentioned the NHL was one of the jobs. When did you start using it as a client to start with?
Yeah. So this was when I got that call from Wisconsin and realized I was going there. I was like, okay, the Big Ten is very fast. It's probably the fastest and most highly skilled conference in college hockey.
I mean, you got Caufield and Holloway on your team. There's a sign right there. A couple of absolute
so I'm like,
snipers.
I need to change something up. Because you can ask anybody that knew me growing up, I did not have a problem skating too much. I skated too much. I worked out too much. I did everything I did over the top.
Yeah.
I always thought, again, you understand this with maturing, but I always thought, all right, if I just outwork everybody, then I'm going to just be better than everybody on the ice. Like, pretty simple. It does not work that way. I am firsthand experience of that. Of course, it'll get you places, but it's not going. It's going to maybe at a certain point, there's going to be diminishing returns.
Right.
So I had to change something. There were things in my game that I struggled with that I never was able really to crack. Patience, almost being too quick. Like, I would react too much on the ice. I would do too many movements. I would do too much. Put it that way.
Yeah, it's not uncommon.
It's not uncommon. And I came across Vizual Edge from hearing about it on InGoal, either a podcast or a
seriously
post, something. Yes,
I didn't know. People are gonna think this is a total setup. I had no idea.
No. I came across it on InGoal during COVID.
Really?
When there was no access to ice. And I needed to find a way to be a top goalie in the Big Ten. I needed to find a way to be the anchor for a Big Ten team. And I was like, you know what? This is kind of cool because I've always valued my eyes, and we all know the eyes are important, but like, these NHL goalies are doing it. Might as well just see what's going on. I can do it from home.
Yep.
And that is where the story starts.
Really? Wow.
On how much it has helped, or it did help me. And now it's helping thousands of other goalies because we don't have a good understanding of how important the eyes are to us, as not just from a goaltending standpoint, but just any athlete. They are so impactful. And I could talk about this topic for hours, but it was such a big unlock for me that I almost kind of kept it a secret.
which is ironic now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you usually know you came across something good. Like, I would kind of keep it a secret from my goalie buddies and everything because it's infinite. Like, you could just be laying on your couch all day. It's not that we recommend doing this, but I love anything that is low input, either with time or physical.
Yeah.
And anything that is super efficient and actually has data that's showing you where it's not anecdotal. Like, example, throwing the ball against the wall. There's no data. The ball isn't telling you where your deficiencies are. It's not telling you how much better you're getting at it, and you're physically exerting yourself. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with throwing the ball against the wall,
Right.
but when you kind of compare and contrast, you realize like, okay, this is something that can actually show me the results. It can actually, I can see tangibly where I stand compared to my peers on my ability to read and react to information in front of me. So it started to open my eyes, no pun intended, on the workflow from information going from your eyes, brain to body. And it actually kind of connects the dots when we talked about the journaling and reading the play, because that's where the best goalies in the world separate themselves, not because they're stopping the puck in this fancy way, not because they're superhuman, but because they're very, very good at reading and reacting to what's happening in front of them. And it sounds super simple, but it's something that is an actual muscle that can be worked on.
Well, that's a line that Braden Holtby gave us way, because he used to do a lot of vision training before we'd ever heard of Visual Edge. I think that was the exact line. Your eyes are a muscle. They're probably your most important muscle you have as a goalie. Why wouldn't you train it the same way we do our hips and our feet and our hands?
It's just a lack of understanding of it, really. It's I think it was always kind of seen as this little side tool, maybe a mix in some ball drills or whatever it is on the side. It was never a core component of the training regimen or a routine. And so it was when you combine the understanding and you can combine the portability of being able to do it on your laptop, on your tablet, right?
Yeah.
You know how many, I think I've spent a quarter of my life on a bus going from Fargo, North Dakota to Youngstown, Ohio to Mankato, Minnesota, whatever. And of course you want to chop it up with the buddies and maybe play some cards or some movies, but you could be spending 15 minutes actually working on your eyes. So when you show up to wherever you're going, you can be dialed in. Like that's something that is invaluable.
Well, it's funny. We had Emmett Crotto, Montreal Canadiens prospect on, and he wasn't necessarily talking about Visual Edge specifically, but like, why doom scroll for 30 minutes? Like, put the phone down and go do something for your eyes or for your eye hand or whatever. He talked about for him it was the ball work, but this is like you said, something that gives you a little more quantifiable information. So you used it for that season. How'd you end up working for them?
Yeah. So again, it was such a big unlock for me. And not just I used it because I was curious, right? I'm not afraid to try things.
Which is a great mindset to have as a goalie.
Yeah. And also just a side note, like I had numerous goalie coaches. I went to numerous goalie camps. And I'm not like fully advocating for that, but I'm just giving another example of, I think it's actually really good to have that open mind, listen to different people. Doesn't mean that you overload yourself and overwhelm with all information, but even just taking like a little bit of bits and pieces from and really thinking about like, why do I like that? Or how does that resonate with me? How can I apply this? So that's something that
that was Hutch's parent playbook last week, talking about different voices, and because you guys ran into each other at the Stop It Goaltending camp where there's all these different coaches, and embrace it as opposed to be like, oh, my guy says do this.
Yeah. I think that's important. And going back to my Visual Edge thing, it was like, why am I just figuring out about this now? Why is this just becoming a thing? Like, has Visual Edge just popped out of nowhere? Whatever. I looked into it, and Visual Edge was primarily serving MLB batters.
Right.
The platform was built from a group of eye doctors in Chicago who were having MLB batters come in for during their off seasons for an assessment, hand them some drills to take with them and run with for the other 364 days of the year. And they kind of realized that, hey, how can we make this a more high touch experience? How can we be more connected with our athletes year round and serve them better? So they developed a software that makes the athlete able to have 365 days at all times their own vision coach, where they don't, just like getting on the ice with a goalie coach, right? You're paying a goalie coach so they can give you drills that are helping you be a better goalie, and you just got to show up and put in the work. Same thing with something like Vizual Edge or a personal trainer, right? That's why you're paying them. You show up. You don't need to be a vision expert. You don't need to be a strength and conditioning expert. If you can afford it, you pay someone to give you what you need because they're the expert. Very simple. So that's exactly how Vizual Edge works. You go on, the first thing you do, you take an assessment. And just like a doctor would do, it diagnoses and shows you, okay, for example, in my shoes, I was just trying to be curious. I was just trying to help myself track pucks better.
Yeah.
I actually realized that it was my eyes and brain that were holding me back from being a more accurate goalie or a more patient goalie. I had no idea that was something that was part of that workflow. I just thought that, I don't know, I wasn't ever going to be a patient goalie, but it's something in your decision-making process. So once I started very early on understanding, going back to what I was saying earlier, those deep-rooted causes, I was looking at symptoms for a long time on a lot of these areas, and I was understanding these deep-rooted causes, a lot of it from Vizual Edge, because again, at that point in my career, I wasn't skating with my goalie coaches back home, reinventing the wheel. I was just maybe touching up some things, maintenance, right? Yep. At that point, and everybody's working out all the time. Like, everybody is relatively parity as far as the strength and speed, but this was something that nobody else was doing. And that was an unlock for me, where I was like, a lot of goalies need to understand that this exists.
Right.
Why is that? All right. That's what has allowed me to find something that energizes me in the business world. Finding something that has maybe ambiguity and something that translates technology to value for a business or for an individual, whatever it is, and understanding how to connect those dots. And that has been my key role at Vizual Edge in various different capacities since I've stopped playing, because it comes back to the main point of realizing more athletes need to unlock this part of their game.
It's funny you mentioned the assessment. I always used to say to Hutch, like, goalies used to talk about seeing the puck all the way in, right? Like, I've been covering this for 20 some odd years, and I'm like, when I started playing in my mid-30s, I'm like, what do you mean see the puck? Like, what are they talking about? I can't see the puck all the way in. And then we do my Vizual Edge assessment, and my convergence was just atrociously low. It's like, and it made sense. It's like, oh, yeah, Woodley, you don't see the puck all the way in. Your brain is basically assuming where it's going once it hits a certain point, because your eyes don't converge for crap. Divergence, great, read the play, but I couldn't see it literally coming at me because my eyes didn't converge, and training the improvement has made a massive difference. Oh, yeah. The puck does go all the way into the glove.
I mean, I didn't know what...
Off the blocker and out.
I didn't know the word convergence existed before I even logged on to Vizual Edge that year when I was playing at Wisco. You know, we just weren't educated on it.
Yeah.
I just thought that tracking the puck in all the way meant trying to track the puck in all the way. I didn't know that your eyes had these motor functions of depth perception, divergence, convergence, being able to track multi-objects, and then also on how that connects to your brain and then how that goes to your body. So understanding that you can just play games on your laptop or tablet to work on these things, so then you can show up for game time
and feel ready
and just trust yourself to read and react. You don't need to be thinking. You don't need to, right? We talk about confidence in this position, and that's something that has really opened my eyes working with some of the best goalies in the NHL or PWHL or whatever league. Is they trust. Confidence to them means showing up on the ice and just trusting themselves to be present in that moment. Not saying that they're the best goalie in the league, not saying that there's not a puck that's going to beat me. It's just realizing whatever happens out there, I can read and react to it. I can have the confidence to not need to interfere with with my process of just letting myself focus on one thing, if that makes sense.
I've gotten my work done. It's like being prepared for the test.
Exactly. So it allows you to have that narrow focus.
Now, I don't know. So you have to be careful. I know sometimes on the business side of things, in terms of some of the guys and girls that you've worked with in both leagues at the highest level, but are there any stories where you've seen others have that sort of connect the dots moments that you had in terms of this unlocking things?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you find it a good example is is a guy like Jordan Binnington. We've been working with the Blues for a handful of years, and Binnington was one of those guys that was a long time NHL goalie before using Vizual Edge, and it goes to show you that if you're just curious, you try something out, and if it works for you and it helps you feel good every day, right? Like that's something that I think is really important. Just realizing like having parts of your routine that actually are helping you feel good every day, because you listen to any good goalie coach out there during the season, what is their number one job? To make sure that their goalies are going into each game just feeling good about their game, feeling good about going into that night to play the position. They're not trying to overwhelm them with anything. They're not trying to change up their game too much. It's wherever they're at right now, helping them feel the best with what they have. So I think it's a really strong tool for a guy like that in season, managing the highs and lows, managing all of the challenging things that make it hard to be consistent every day,
right,
night after night, and having something in your pocket while you're traveling. A guy like that has made it a part of his routine just to help him with that consistency. As he said, helping his brain and eyes feel ready for whatever comes his way each night. Yeah, and I love that
game
because
day prep, yep.
It doesn't sound like the most profound thing in the world, but I love that because that's what the game is all about come game time. It's just being ready for whatever comes your way. And I always come back to that core sentiment because that's what these goalies care the most about. And when you find something that helps you do that, then that's essentially like gold to you at that level.
You've traveled around, you've worked, like what does it look like for you now in the role in terms of trying to spread the word? A lot of traveling. You say you work with teams. I don't know how many teams you guys work with, or if you can even tell me. Again, I know there's some stuff you got to be careful with, proprietary and stuff like that. Yeah. But like, is it an education process for the coaches as well when you start with a new team, or are they usually the ones bringing it in?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So we work with organizations at every level, and even globally. So it could be a youth organization like the Ohio Blue Jackets AAA, or it could be at the junior hockey level, the US NTDP, or a college hockey team like UMass Amherst, just giving some examples, and then NHL goalie departments. Because if you really think about it from a goalie coach's standpoint, we cannot, I'm a goalie coach currently as well, I help goalies, but we cannot actually change the way that our athletes' eyes can move.
Right.
It's just like a goalie coach not being able to help with the strength of our athletes' quads, for example. Of course, we could skate them, but when you don't isolate something at the core level, it's hard for that to grow. So there's so many times as goalie coaches where we're on the ice and our goalies are doing the right things and they just show up to the position, set their feet, and they just get beat, right? And sometimes we often just say, hey, that was a good shot, or just track the puck in better, or whatever it is. And in the back of our heads, we know that they just got to track the puck better. And it's not as simple as just saying track the puck better.
Right.
So
it's
about
tools.
It's about being an extension of a goalie coach or a goalie department by saying, hey, here is a simple thing that you can do off of the ice on your couch, and then be able to come back on the ice where we're saying much, much less, hey, you just got to track the puck better there.
Gotcha. Now, your focus is primarily hockey, but you mentioned the company started with baseball, and you guys got like some of the biggest names in baseball use the product. Do you get any touch points on that with MLB and stuff? I mean, I'm going back to my baseball roots. That's where my passion started. So maybe I'm just geeking out here a little bit to get to know who are some of the guys that are use the product, and whether you get to interact and hear from them about how it affects them.
Yeah, I mean, that is what we do, or what we help with in its purest form, right? When you're standing over the home plate and you're in the batter's box, it's truly all about how well you can make a decision in a millisecond, right?
Well, and the other part,
eyes,
and how long you can see the ball. Like I remember going to hitting clinics up to like JUCO with like Gary Ward for Oklahoma State, and he used to talk about the last, if you're still seeing the ball on the last, I can't remember what the number was, 12 feet, 15 feet, you have the ability to hit at this level or that level. I was super blessed just 2 weeks ago to get to have a really small, intimate dinner with a handful of people, and James Paxton, who has a no-hitter as a pitcher in the MLB, and John Olerud, who won 2 World Series with the Blue Jays and had a batting title. And they went back and forth on the final 15 feet of how a pitch moves and how it changes everything. And as you're having this conversation, I'm thinking of Vizual Edge and being able to track, like if you can still see it as it's starting to make those changes in the spin and the rotation. So like, okay, I just geeked out and everybody just tuned out because I switched sports on us, but I love that stuff. It was probably one of the coolest moments I've ever had listening to these guys talk about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really just comes down to like how quickly your eyes can move or follow from one point to another without losing that accuracy. And then and if that gateway is clearer, then your brain has more time to react on that information.
Right.
And what's really cool is because since these things are happening so quickly, that's why it's a muscle that needs to be worked on, because we don't have time to be thinking about these things, right? Obviously, if everything was happening in slow-mo, we'd be able to make the right decisions. But, unfortunately, there's unpredictability. The pitcher isn't telling us what pitch is coming down, right? A team isn't coming in to the D zone on a 3-on-2 telling us exactly what's going to happen. It's obvious. So that's where understanding that unpredictability, stress, chaos, combining all of these variables and working on that muscle of reading and reacting, it always comes back to that. I'll always sound like a broken record talking about this part of the game, coming back to that read and react muscle, because that is exactly what separates with consistency. That is what separates the good from the great. And that's why I'm so passionate about this part of the game, because it is agnostic to any sport.
It applies right across the board, eh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I sorry to go baseball geek on you there.
No, it's great. It's great.
And I do know you guys work with some of the like biggest names in the game on the baseball side, so I'm a little geeky there. You've been coaching, you mentioned. You still play at all?
Yeah, a little bit of both. So I live in Hopkins, Minnesota, which is a suburb outside of Minneapolis. And me and one of my good buddies, who was a goalie for the Gophers, we did a local goalie clinic here in Edina, Minnesota, during the season. So it just kind of depends on what season of life I'm in, but I'm always going to be on the ice in some capacity. And then, I somehow got the nod to come in and practice with the Wild here. Got a random text from Freddie over there for the Wild. Yeah. And I think, again, that's why it's important to have good relationships over the years. Maybe they remembered me from years ago, just through business and whatever, built some good relationships at the Wild. And I was able to pop in probably a couple dozen times this year. So I don't really break out the gear too often. It's got to be for a good reason, but I love to do it here and there. One, to just be in a locker room again.
Yeah.
again, like it's cool to throw on the Wild practice jersey and go through the experience, but it's just super fun to just, again, when you're in the business world, you don't get that locker room feel, just chopping it up with the guys and just being able to be in that old form. That's what excites me to go in and do it. Everybody always asks me, dude, what are they paying you, or what do you get? I'm like, I would pay them to go in there
100%
and just be in the locker room for a couple hours and break up my day. So that was a fun little part this year. That'll probably change with the new third goalie position.
I was just going to ask.
So
it's a full-time job now, Robbie, if you're interested.
I'm probably never going to get that call again just based on that. But you know what? Fun way to have a reason to break out the gear.
Awesome. And still have the passion for it, eh?
Exactly.
Love it. Well, it comes through every time we've had a chance to talk to you. I did not know that we were the origin of you discovering Vizual Edge, so that makes it even better. The partnership's been fantastic with us, but mostly all these years we've talked about sort of the role you have, the career you've had, and how it led to here. And it was about time we got you to share that story, because I think it's important for people to understand that you're not just a guy who works for a company. You're a goalie about as deep rooted as you can be, and your passion for helping other goalies through Vizual Edge shone through today. So thanks, Robbie. Appreciate this, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's why this Vizual Edge journey has been so fun for me, because one, I'm obviously helping goalies with a part of their game that they never would have looked into before. And then two, it allows me to have a reach of working with goalies all over the world. And it's a unique blend. And it also allows me to have the opportunities to build friendships with you guys and just be connected with so many different hockey people. So it's nice that we finally had a chance to just me and you sit down, have a reason to just one-on-one chop it up like this. Super honored, and it's been so fun working with you guys, and appreciate you having me on and finally getting my InGoal nod after all the years listening. It's been super fun.
A long overdue, my friend. Keep up the great work.
Absolutely.
And again, thank you for so much time today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Woody.
See? I promised. I promised it would be worth sticking around for. I know that some people probably thought, oh, it's one of their sponsors, and I'll admit, I thought about adding an NHL voice to this podcast, quick 15 minutes with a guy. But once we got off the phone, or the Zoom, I guess, I was like, that stands on its own. I don't need to add a big name to attract listeners. Like, if you're about goaltending and about getting better, like the lessons that he taught along the way, his path, the way he used reading the game and anticipation as his game changer, that was his difference maker. Everybody brings different skill sets. Some is size, some is athleticism, some is skating. For him, it was the work ethic and the ability to anticipate what was coming at him. It reminds me a little bit of Matt Murray, right? Matt Murray and ProReads. He's been so good in the ProReads. And he said that was his differentiator, the ability to anticipate, the ability to read, the ability to connect the patterns and think your way through the game. So some great lessons there from Robbie in that interview. Thank him very much for spending so much time, especially considering he's got a wedding coming up later this summer. And he's got all these trips going on, and he's a busy man. We really appreciate it. And like I said, folks, just a reminder, special to have him on the podcast, and Vizual Edge makes sure it was special for our listeners too. If you've never used the product before, your first 3 months are 50% off if you use the code IGFALL50, IGFALL50 at visualedge.com. Your first 3 months, new users, through the month of August. If you buy before August 31st, 50% off. That was fun.
It was great to hear the story, because I don't know, you hear that he was a goaltender as we're talking about Vizual Edge over the time that we've met, and then when you finally connect with him in person, or those of you connecting for the first time here on the show, to hear that backstory is really fascinating.
And from not your traditional hockey parents, come from Lebanon, don't know the game of hockey at all, and clearly just fell in love with it, and just the work ethic, right? Like portals and guys transferring and everything that happens now. I didn't even realize when we started the interview, like I saw that he transferred and there was no year off in between. And I forgot that like back then that wasn't normal. And I didn't realize, my brain was like, well, how did he do it then? He just got his degree in 3 years. right? So put the work in. He wasn't going to waste that opportunity, a chance to play hockey, and he made sure he had that degree as fast as he could. So great, just a great guy, great story, lots of takeaways there. As we wrap it up this week, folks, a reminder, you want to have a chuckle? There's a chance, I can't guarantee it, they don't show me the edited footage, but there's a chance you can see me on ESPN on August 3rd. I think it's Monday, August 3rd to the 6th. I think they're broadcasting the World Series of Poker. And make sure you cheer along Greg Mueller, FBT, full-blown tilt as they call him, as he tries to win a World Series of Poker bracelet. So, big week coming up. Potentially my ESPN debut. You and me on a flight to Boston on Wednesday.
Oh, there's nothing I'd rather do than be in a tin can over North America with you, Woody. I'm sure there'll be no complaining. It's going to be a wonderful trip.
As long as I get the aisle seat, Hutch, there will be no complaining. If I don't get the aisle seat, my knee, which is about twice its regular size and does not straighten and doesn't like to be bent, is not going to love the long flight. I do believe we have to be at the airport at 4 a.m. on Wednesday for that flight across the country. So I'm looking forward to seeing you bright and cheery at that time.
Yeah, coming over from Vancouver Island, that's even more fun.
Well, you just get a canoe, you paddle in the dark. You'll get here.
Okay, sounds good.
Folks,
see you in Boston.
Yeah. Folks, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for being a part of this InGoal community, including the InGoal Radio Podcast. Make sure you check out everything else at ingoalmag.com. In addition to the stuff from Dylan Garan, we've got new stuff up with Ian Clark and the From the Crease partnership, all kinds of new things happening this week. So any questions, concerns, comments you want to pass along to us? Hutch, what's the email?
Podcast@ingoalmag.com.
And we are going to leave it at that. We're out.